Let's see. Warcraft development cycle, how to learn how to tank, first BlizzCon memories, critique of trends in game design. Where were we when the podcast boss hit us with his interruptibility? There are still a few minutes left on the silence that hit the guest tank, so we need to do a little bit of defensive mechanics until we can get Jason Lucas off cooldown for the second phase of our conversation. First, we'll kill a few ads, and then we will be ready for whatever the interview version of Bloodlust is. Welcome to How to Use Solo, a solo queue bonus episode where I interview people from across the Warcraft community. Thanks for joining me. My name is Dave Gagne. Welcome to episode 43 of Solo Queue, a monthly-ish podcast devoted to the world of Warcraft and playing Warcraft from a solo player's perspective, sometimes casual, sometimes fanatical. It can be a lot of things, but hey, welcome back. If you're here for the first time, this is not the episode to start with, I'm just saying, because this is definitely part 2 of the conversation with Jason Lucas of the Starting Zone, which, I'm not gonna lie, when we met a little while ago, we talked well into the night, and yeah, that had to be broken up into 2 episodes. The first episode of this conversation is in episode 42, so check that out. And here is the rest of the conversation. That said, there are a lot of things going on in the next few days and weeks of the Warcraft universe, and I did want to sneak in a little bit of news and catching up on a few things. Nothing crazy. We're going to take care of business, get in, get out, and then get to the rest of, like I said, a great conversation with Jason Lucas about all sorts of things over the 21 years of Warcraft, almost 22 years of, I should say, World of Warcraft, even dipping a little bit back into the Warcraft days before. I had so much fun, and let me say now, before we get back to the pre-recorded stuff, big thanks to Jason. I really enjoyed our conversation, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to catching up again in person in a little over a month. About 5-6 weeks, whatever, to BlizzCon, Southern California. So there's that. And I know the next episode, we're going to talk a lot about BlizzCon, so stay tuned for that. Okay, without further ado, you know me, I could ramble far too long, but let's jump into the news of Azeroth.
You bring news?
What news from the mainland?
Have you any news?
Hey, there is the obvious news about the launch of the next patch. We'll get to that at the end. There's a few things I want to get to before that. And the first one is, well, let me introduce it this way. We got news from Blizzard that a certain feature was being, shall we say, put to rest. And let me just go back to episode 42 and back to the comments from Jason Lucas about this particular thing before we heard the news.
What is all that stuff with Décor Duals? What has this done for the game? Is anybody still playing it? Does anybody care? I don't hear anything about it from anybody.
Once again, Solo Queue speaks and Blizzard listens. There it is. You heard Jason talking about, is anyone, and I know some people are genuinely enjoying or were enjoying Décor Duals. You could put anything in the game and somebody will enjoy it. But were enough people playing Décor Duals? Clearly not, because Blizzard has announced that after the patch launches, after the update 12.1, Décor Duals is gone. They are going the way of, dare I say, dastardly duos. Yeah, the feature just didn't generate the hype, the excitement. I don't know. I don't at all pretend that my experience in the game is relevant to any large percentage of the population of World of Warcraft, but I don't know. It felt like, even though I didn't really enjoy the mode, the issues that I had with it seemed pretty fundamental. And I think in the news that Décor Duals is going away, but if you want to run through the content real quick before we take it away, we've done a couple things that might have been mentioned on solo queue, like get rid of the flies giving you away after like 3 seconds or whatever it is. Get rid of in the last 30 seconds, the hiders can't hide. What? So interesting that they both took some of those suggestions, I'm sure they came up with them on their own, but took some of those suggestions and then still tanked the feature, killed the feature. I heard people speculating about, well, maybe it's coming back. Maybe it'll be a, kind of a trial of style sort of thing where it's out twice a year and it's limited. Honestly, I think that'd be great. I think that would be perfectly fine. Hey, once every 6 months, you get a week, maybe 2 weeks to do Décor Duals. You get in, you have fun. It has all the same, the same rewards with 3 extra things this time or 5 extra things. I think that's a completely reasonable thing to do. Now, Blizzard hasn't said that's what they're doing, but that seems reasonable. But I also want to take a look at the larger issue going on behind the scenes, rooting in the depths of the Blizzard campus. There is clearly something going on. Blizzard clearly has something against game systems that utilize the alliterative D naming convention. Décor Duals, double D, done. Dastardly duos, done. Like that came, that went, no one really liked it. And, I think this has ramifications. I think it probably rules out the potential of a double dragon game mode, whatever that might be. But I also think it puts in jeopardy 3 leaked features. We've had, various leaks recently of Camelot, or this. 3, these did not get a lot of attention. You may not find them out on the internet. But 3 features that have been slightly leaked that have not yet been announced. The first is Diligent Defenders, which is a tower defense mini game. I don't know. I'm a little worried about Diligent Defenders. It may not make it given this trend. The second one is Dexterous Disciples. This is a jumping puzzle game tied into the housing system, but it is only open to holy priests and holy paladins with special rewards just for them. Cosmetic only. No player power in Dexterous Disciples, at least not in the rumored leaked data mined feature. And the last one that I'm very worried about, Defiant Drakes, which is a revamp of the skywriting system, the racing system, in which the game randomly scrambles the flying abilities on your action bar and replaces the icons with question marks for the duration of the race. When the gun sounds, you need to try the abilities out to discover which button is which. And the icon doesn't come back. You have to remember what you found. And you have to do the normal skywriting race courses. Defiant Drakes. I'm telling you, I think that would have been a winner, but clearly doomed by the alliterative D naming convention. All right, not all data mining and data leaks and things are things you've actually heard of before. Don't go looking, I'm just saying. All right. Item number 2 in the news. I honestly thought that I was going to be the only WoW podcast to not mention this story. And I almost made it. Because mostly I do not care about the Myth Plus 23 GM killing the stuff, cheating scandal, whatever. I heard it. I thought, of course, humans are humans, whatever. I don't know the details. Who cares? Whatever. You know, cheating is wrong. Great. It made public knowledge. It got out there. Blizzard did something about it. Wonderful. Yawn and move on. That's the end of the news for me. Except then I had a thought. You know, honestly, I don't need to speculate what really happened and what did Blizzard know and when did they know and why didn't they act sooner and what else might have happened. I don't really care about any of that. Maybe because I don't play Mythic Plus, maybe because I don't stream, maybe because I don't know any GMs, maybe because a lot of things. Maybe because I just don't care. Maybe because it doesn't really affect the game. It's not like anybody else was affected by this. Anyway, regardless, I would have let all of this pass, except I had this idea. This event gives Blizzard the chance to be so super funny come the start of April next year when they put out certain blue post, when they announce that, among other things in the game, the ability Area Death has been nerfed to only function at Myth Plus 10 or below. Or something more clever and more cheeky than that. Area Death has been nerfed to only 1 GM per month per region or something like that. I hope that shows up in the April 1st notes, because that would be hilarious. All right, that's more time than I wanted to spend on that. Item number 3 in the news. On to better news, and on to new things coming. Among the news items this past week was the drop of the comic Legacy of Rage, featuring Yokai O'Shea as the voice of Zul'Jan in the YouTube version. And Legacy of Rage is the story of Zul'Jan working through some childhood memories and his understanding of the history of the Amani people. The story was written by Robert Brooks, with, in the comic version, Marco Del Forno doing the art and the cover, coloring by Mauro Gulma, and the lettering by AndWorld Design. It's relatively small. Go check it out. You can download the 12-page PDF from the link in your Battle.net launcher, or check out all the stories, the videos, the audios, the comics, the everything over at the Blizzard media site, the World of Warcraft.blizzard.com/media, essentially. It's got your language and region in there too, but check that out. All of the, going back through time. Stroll through there at some point, and you might be surprised what you didn't catch, what might be interesting, what catches your fancy. We got a big reveal, and frankly, it's one that I'm surprised did not make it to BlizzCon, but we got a big reveal the other day. Launching November 17th, with early access on November 3rd, Blizzard and Wizards of the Coast announced the most obvious crossover product in history, that World of Warcraft is coming to Dungeons and Dragons, bringing the world of Azeroth that we all love to the uber famous tabletop role-playing game system. There is a World of Warcraft Ultimate Bundle and a Collector's Edition Ultimate Bundle, as well as bonuses for pre-ordering and blah, blah, blah. I'm just going to run through really quickly what briefly is going on here. The rule set that is going to be provided, that tweaked for World of Warcraft, is going to include rules for playing all 13 World of Warcraft subclasses. And there are going to be 6 new subclasses. I'll just whip through these real quick. The Oath of the Ebon Blade and the Oath of the Holy. And I guess that's meant to be a paladin. The Demon Hunter is going to be a ranger. Shadow Domain and Discipline Domain are going to be clerics. And the Path of the Elements are a part of the Barbarian subclass. All right, 3 updated subclasses. The Swashbuckler will be the rogue, of course. Path of the Spiritual Guardian will be part of Barbarian, and Warrior of Mystic Brews, of course, the monk. And then it will feature over 40 specializations. There will be 16 species. Drakthir, Draenei, Earthen, Forsaken, Heronir, Mechanome, Pandaren, Tauren, Troll, Volpera, and Worgen are all new species to the rule set. And then it's going to revise existing ones for Azeroth. So Dwarf, Elf, Goblin, Human, and Orc. 60 more spells, 30 magic items, popular mounts, companion creatures, 10 plus professions. I mean, there's 11 professions in the game. Why didn't they say 11? They said 10 plus. Anyway, this is fascinating. There is a mount, pet, toy, and decor item available, but I'm not sure. This is in-game. I'm not sure which bundle you have to buy to get that stuff. It's not super clear. No reveal of pricing yet. Clearly, they need to get you wicked excited before they slap you with that reality of how much this will actually cost. But I know some of you out there play D&D, so stay tuned for more information. I mean, this looks like an obvious and excellent crossover of worlds. My goodness, it seems like a no-brainer revenue generator. I mean, D&D, I keep thinking it's at its peak, but it kind of keeps getting bigger. I keep hearing more people saying, oh yeah, I play D&D. I'm like, wow, it is really everywhere now. I don't know. I'm hoping they don't get too greedy and price this absolutely through the roof, but I'm not sure. Yeah. And I really hope that the crossover does not run against the double D feature fate of Dastardly Duos or Décor Duals. Can't have that alliterative D thing kill this. I hope not. Here's the real question. Will I buy this? This is really tempting. I remember the last time I said this. Will I buy the collector's edition of the next WoW expansion? Knowing that I would. This is a little different. I haven't played Dungeons & Dragons since I was a literal kid. A long time ago. I still have a bunch of my stuff from then. And so it definitely holds a place in my heart. That said, and this may not surprise you, as a solo player of things, not just World of Warcraft, yeah, I haven't played Dungeons & Dragons in forever. So I don't know if it's useful to me. But that hasn't stopped me from buying things before. There is a strange part of me that likes having things, even if they don't get used for their original purpose. There's something about this. I'm going to want to see it. I'm going to want to know the price. But if by the end of November, if this is in my possession, it would not surprise me. I'm going to be curious. All right, so keep your eyes peeled for pricing on that, and I'll let you know what I decide. Oof, I don't know. I have a bad feeling about this, people. Just saying. Okay, and last but not least, of course, in just a couple days, 12.1 launches on Tuesday, August 11th, with, of course, the raid and all the Season 2 activities kicking off 1 week later on August 18th. 12.1 is going to bring us to the Coiled Isle, the new zone, along with various activities and public events. I'm sure you've heard it somewhere else. I'm just going to run through it really quickly. 3-boss dungeon is the Altar of Fangs. Remember that the world bosses that are going to be in this area are now going to be in lairs. Lairs, just saying. These are going to be instanced areas limited to like 15 to 25 player groups. You're going to have normal, heroic, and mythic difficulty, although I saw something that suggested there's also a world difficulty. I don't know if that's real or not, but normal, heroic, myth difficulty. Clearly some difficulty with the word difficulty. And there's going to be, cosmetics and what have you, drops, loot that varies by difficulty as well. So pay attention to which thing you're walking into. A lot of times Blizzard will add the little hover over tooltip that says, hey, you should be item level this. to get into this. I know they do that in delves. I think they also do that in ritual sites. It would not surprise me. So, hover over this if you're kind of on the fence, like, I'd like to try heroic, but I don't know if I'm good enough. The tip is just a tip. It's not a hard requirement, but yeah, check that out. They may do that. There's also going to be 2 new delves, the Ring of Glory and Gnarldor Isle. And there will be a Nemesis delve, the Venomfall Deeps Nemesis delve. There will be new Argentina quests, new endeavors for your housing neighborhood, and of course new features coming to the UI and housing. Kind of that drumbeat of improving both of those things every patch, every little chance they can. Season 2, which I mentioned kind of happens the week after, brings a new Mythic Plus dungeon pool. It brings the new PvP season, of course, which includes a new Players versus Bots arena that I might actually check out. I think I could hop in a thing with 2 other human people and go beat up on 3 non-human things. I might do that. We'll see. And of course, there is a second season of the Prey system, which, comes in its various flavors. And then there are the raids. So normal, heroic, and mythic raids all release on that Tuesday, so August 18th. The 4 wings of LFR are spread out over 4 weeks, beginning on that August 18th and extending out to September 8th with the release of wing number 4. And story mode makes its return with no announced improvements, releasing in week 2. On August 25th. And just a note, if you want to jump into LFR, know that the minimum item level is 273. And that, unlike what I mentioned a moment ago, is a limit. You need to be this tall to ride the ride. So make sure you get your item level up. Be sure you are prepared for that adventure if you so choose.
And what have you done lately?
Ah, yes, that eternal question. For as rude as he sounds when he says it, he really does ask every month. It's very nice of him. Just a couple things I want to mention. First off, hey, I'm happy to report that I did get my Vyranoth amount for the Spawn of Vyranoth for hopping into 4 Timewalking dungeons in 4 of the 6 weeks. So fantastic, pretty exciting, and hey, proud of myself for hopping in there, doing some group content that required almost nothing of me. I will say, I mentioned last time that, wow, how am I so high on the damage meters? There was a few more as we went on that I did not get so high, especially in dungeons. I was like, oh, well, at least I'm 4th, and then I remembered that healers don't do a lot of damage. It's like, oh, yeah, okay. I'm in the top 4. Yeah. So anyway, my ego is, it's not really ego. my reality was returned. But that, I did also get the raid mount, the Sporefall, do the Sporefall raid 4 times. And hey, I was in the top 10 of damage every time I did that. So that was pretty exciting. Why not? So, hey, I got those 2 mounts, kind of reach goals. I set some goals. I set some legitimate challenges for myself and hopped in there and did that with no horrible side effects. So I'm really happy about that. Hopefully, if you targeted some of those things, you got those too. I also got my second character to level 90. This took a long time, essentially most of season 1, which is crazy. But through the time walking, I finally leveled my main character, Safnari, the Night Elf Feral Druid. My OG main. She is my main character. She is not doing main character content right now, but yeah, she is my forever main. Cranked her out through some time walking dungeons. Started at 80, I think. I don't know. Check what I said 2 episodes ago. I don't remember. Maybe it was 82. Regardless, she's now 90. I did a few extra dungeons here and there. She's the one that technically earned the mount. She did some time walking. She did some leveling in Harandar. Now I got to gear her up a bit and, then follow with 3 more. So the XP buff for each character, you get to 90. I'm now up to 10%. 3 more will hit the max of 25%. And after that, every character you're leveling is getting that 25%. But, you know something? I care so much less about XP boosts and buffs than I used to, which is part of the reason why I'm so kind of slow in getting anybody else to 90. And that's crazy. In some way, I've had less time in the game recently. You would think, oh, well, I would really benefit from picking up the pace and getting those XP boosts. And yet, my desire when I do get in game is starting to go the other way. It's starting to be more adventuring for adventuring's sake. Taking in the scenes, taking in the stories. I still mathematically want to get a stable of 90s established and try and get, most of the classes, if not all of them, up there. Although, I've got 4 druids in the pipeline, so some of those classes are going to be way behind in getting to 90. So I'm not going to complain that's a little easier, but it's not something I'm targeting, where in the past I've definitely said, oh, hey, that's a thing that I can achieve and it'll help my warband. I'm doing it. And that's been less important lately. So, and the last thing I want to mention that I've gotten into in the game is exactly kind of what I was just talking about and fits that same vibe. I got in one day, I was like, I can't. Okay, let me pause to say this, and I hate to say this. I am growing weary of the Silver Moon music, and even the midnight launch music, and that bugs the crap out of me because big picture, I love the music of Warcraft. It is so important to me. All the work that everybody puts in making this fantastic world, all this great ambiance and everything. It is wonderful. But, like anything, you're not going to like everything equally. And yeah, there's something about Silvermoon. I know I mentioned it right when the expansion launched. Not my favorite music. Doesn't carry enough of the history in with it. And that hasn't changed a lot, sadly, since the start. So, I'm like, so I mentioned that because I hopped in one night recently and thought, I can't. I don't want to. And so I finally dusted off my Pandaren Holy Priest, who was resting comfortably at level 80 in Stormwind, hitting the restaurants, doing whatever. And Faya said, no, we need you. And moved her through the Heritage Armor quest line. Yeah, it just did not feel like the same old grind or even the same old raid farming. So I have 2 Heritage Armor quest lines left to do, the Undead and the Haranir. And I finally got the Undead and the Pandaren. And finally got the Pandaren done. I enjoyed it. It was a good mix of questing and storytelling. And I think this is a thing that I keep coming back to, of how to tell the story in Warcraft, how to do it in a game system that is quest loot. This one worked well. In this case, the quests of gathering and killing a bunch of things actually felt connected to the story, and they felt meaningful, even if they were easy and relatively simple. Like, there's no great complex questing going on. Sometimes that doesn't work. Sometimes it's just like, why am I collecting these things? Why am I killing these things? It seems like, trivial busy work. Here it did it felt more connected. And I'm not even sure I'm going to necessarily be able to explain it. The story flowed nicely. We get back to the Wandering Isle, not going to spoil the thing. I think everyone should go do it at some point. But you get back to the Wandering Isle, which is the starting zone for Pandaren characters. And it's just, it's a great visit back there, a reconnection with some things. It brings in, here's what it is. It doesn't feel lecture-y. It brings in some lore and some history of the Pandarans in a current event, in a thing that you're doing in the timeline of the game, right? Now, it's not connected to world events, so it could be anytime current. You could go do this in 2 years from now. You could have done it a couple of years ago when it first came in, and it would still feel current because it is like a break. Hey, we're doing a thing. I think it's set in spring, so is it literally spring? No, not here, but this event comes in the spring. We're celebrating that. So it is an anytime thing, and that's great. But it is current. It's not, oh, champion, let's go down memory lane and have all these flashbacks and flashbacks and flashbacks. It's not that. And so you're actively participating in a thing and getting stories and being immersed in the stories as you go. I liked it. There's some touching moments with remembering the elders. Lily Stormstout, once a small child in our Warcraft past, is now a young adult, and she has come back to visit family, to see her dad. There's some good stuff there. There's some nice, I don't want to spoil the whole thing. I don't want to give it away, but there's some really nice moments about some kind of timeless things, like the idea of change. Do people change? Do places change? Do they really not change, or are they a little bit? People are aging. Dad seems a little thinner, a little older than Lily remembered, but he still seems, what have you. I got to thinking, this is not a sentiment that was in many vanilla quest lines, I'm sure, right? But the game is almost 22 years old. We are all older. We are dealing with parents who are aging, and things are changing. We have kids who are growing, all of these things. And so in some ways, man, that stuff hit, I'm not saying a touching way, but it definitely hit like, oh, these are kind of universal things. And, hey, if you're somehow 22 and just getting into Warcraft and somehow listening to me right now, it may not hit you in the same way. But I promise you, it's coming. You live long enough and it's coming. There's a festival at the end that is a chance to connect with various characters. And this is where there's a little mechanics to this that I want to talk about for a moment. Throughout, I guess I'll say this, going backwards. Throughout the whole questing campaign, the quest line, all the different stories and stuff, if you click on each NPC and pulls up their little dialogue text, they don't say it, it's just their little text box, those would change throughout various parts of the story to reflect the story. They would be updated a bit. And I got to thinking, like, wow, it's kind of a pain to click on these every single time in case it changed. I sort of started to realize that they were changing, so then it was like, oh, well, I gotta click every time. And I thought, I wish there was a way to make this more obvious and more automatic. Like, oh, Lily has something new to say. And then the answer kind of presented itself, because at the end, at this festival, you're supposed to go talk to all these people, and the people you need to talk to were kind of outlined in yellow, like the literal line outline. So the glowing yellow outline of the NPCs, it was a really good, efficient way to say, oh yeah, you got to go talk to these people.
All systems online!
Oh, and you know what that sound means, because we've only ever played it in one episode, but that's the sound of the solo queue. That's the sound of the solo queue game development bench or something. Hey, again, free idea that really, in this case, I didn't come up with. It's just kind of I'm showing a mirror on Blizzard, but what if that were the way this worked? What if every time an NPC had something new to say to you, they had a yellow outline? What if this were routine in-game? And that would just make things so much more efficient. If you are someone who is trying to gather the story and you want to stay immersed, I can tell you this. Hunting down the story by clicking on every single NPC every single time you return from any single quest is not immersive. You know, you're like, oh, do they have anything new? I think that's what they said last time. Yeah, that seems familiar. Yeah, no, that's different. No, it's not. Never mind, I remember that phrase. That's not immersive. That's like detective work. But, free idea for you, Blizzard. Hey, courtesy of your own, I don't know, scrap the free idea thing. But wouldn't it be great if every time you approached an NPC and they had something that you'd never clicked on before, like there's a little flag in game that says the player has seen this text box before, or they have not seen this before. That way you stroll up to a group of people and you're like, oh, well, I've never spoken to any of these people. Or it's the 5th time you've seen random dwarf guy giving quests and he has nothing new to say. Oh, hey there. Don't click on him if you don't need to. That would just make gathering the story so much more efficient. Free idea for you, Blizzard, courtesy of the hardworking game engineers here in the Solo Queue Development Division. But all in all, I really did love the Heritage Armor quest line for the Pandaren. Highly recommend, as I do all the racial Heritage Armor quests. Get out there, go do them.
Let's get down to business.
All right, that is enough news and other ramblings. Let's get back to my conversation with Jason Lucas. When we pushed the stop button that night, we had been talking for nearly 4 hours. And you might think that editing would take that down, but there's really not much editing here. Why try and decide which of his observations and commentary on the game are good enough to make the cut? So, instead, I broke it into 2 halves. In the first half of our conversation, we wandered all through how WoW is designed, the 8-week patch cycle, the features that have given solo play a boost, the sheer volume of mediocre standalone game systems, rip Décor Duals, right? That have been pushed out lately, including Décor Duals, There you go, RIP. We left off with talking about Jason's experiences at his first BlizzCon in 2015. That seemed like a good transition point to our next topic, the long-running podcast, The Starting Zone, which he co-hosts with Spencer Downey and has for nearly 10 years. I promise you, there was not a better place to cut this conversation in half. And the transition sounds a lot better. And the transition sounded a little more smooth before cutting it in half. Regardless, let's get back to the second half of talking World of Warcraft with Jason Lucas, getting into raid design, social responsibilities of a raid leader, and a lightning round. Here we go. So a year later, 2016, you and Spencer would take over the Starting Zone, which means you're coming up on 10 years as podcasters. And Really, you guys
Yeah.
are the elder statesmen of the WoW podcasting space.
Yeah, pretty much.
How does that all feel?
It's really weird that it's been this long. I mean, I started podcasting on Starting Zone in March of 2015. So, but
Wow.
I didn't take.
Yep.
I was on the show sporadically, but I would contribute stuff with Mick and whatever. We would have a Slack going, and we would drop stuff in their discussion topics or whatever, and he would rotate people in the guest with him.
Yep.
But yeah, it wasn't until August of that year that he had to drop out because he was taking a job at Riot, and they didn't really want him, or maybe he just felt like he couldn't. I don't know how top down it was, but the Riot opportunity came up, and so he went and did that, and he said, I am not doing Starting Zone anymore, but other people in this Slack can do it if they want to, so you have my blessing. And so
Oh, wow.
off we went with it at that point. And so that was that'll be 10 years in about a month, which the last 10 years of my life has just completely flown by. My kids are going to be 10 in October and everything. So it feels like yesterday. It is weird. And I mean, I can't like disagree with you about us being the elder statesman, because nobody has done it as consistently for as long as we have. We weren't the first ones to ever do it.
Yes.
But I don't think anybody's put up the run that we have since. I mean, 2016, it was a little shaky getting the format down and getting the production schedule locked in. But since like early 2017, I mean, we've shipped more episodes than there have been weeks. So,
Yeah.
I don't,
Yeah.
there's not, I mean, that's something that we do take pride in. I mean, we make it a point, we make sacrifices to make sure that those episodes come out. We take it seriously. It's not just like, it's not something that we get around to when we feel like it. We prioritize it for the audience and for the people that we know expect a show. We make sure that they get it.
I want to say I started listening to you guys in 2017, and probably within that year was listening every week. And I you might know, but I don't remember you guys missing a week since then.
No, by 2017 we wouldn't have. Yeah, we haven't ever not put an episode out in like call it a 10-day span, 13-day span, maybe. Sometimes, episodes don't always release at the same time, but we do, we don't ever go 2 full weeks without an episode coming out.
And I know you've done in the past bonus content, bonus episodes, and special interviews. And so you're right, there are more TSZs than there are weeks in the years since then. And that, like you said, nobody else has been that consistent. I think there are maybe a few people who are still putting something out who got started before you, but not with the same volume, not with the same, consistency. What's changed for you guys over that time? I mean, I know the structure of the show is pretty locked in, especially in the last 5, 6, 7 years. But what has changed for you?
Oh man, in some ways it's like nothing has changed, and in some ways a lot of things have changed. I feel like I feel like the mission statement of the show is still the same as it was when Spencer and I agreed to work together to take it over. I really do. Our original goal with taking over the show was to present like what was going on in WoW in that snapshot of time, and what was cool or what was not cool, or what you should focus on or what you should avoid, or just highlight stuff that maybe you didn't know was going on. That was sort of the initial, the initial direction that we wanted to take the show. And I feel like it still is, in large part. I think in terms of stuff that's changed, like obviously 10 years on, we're older, we have different priorities in life. I don't want to speak for Spencer, but he's had real moments of like downtime with the game, like times where he barely played at all. you know, and sort of was, you know, he became sort of a vessel for the audience at that point, right? Like he was the theoretical listener, conducting the show through my responses. I think for me, my priorities around WoW have changed a bit over the years, just because the game has changed a lot. In terms of what it presents as like a reward. You know, there was a long time where I basically tried to do everything other than PvP that you could do in WoW. And that was sort of like, that was what I would do on this rotational basis. And it's just recently, really the last year or so, that I've kind of been broken of that, because it's too much now and not everything feels valuable. So I've sort of taken much more of an approach of, I want to focus on the stuff that I feel is fun or rewarding for its own sake, and not as part of some meta directive to complete World of Warcraft. Right? Like, I want to just dial in the stuff that I like, and that's what I'm doing, and I'm going to let the rest of it go. In terms of how that relates to the show specifically, or like what the show is, I feel like I never lie on the show. Okay, I don't okay. Lie to the audience. I don't present anything that doesn't reflect my experiences and feelings.
Yeah,
I do feel like we have leaned more over the years into bold criticism of elements of the game than maybe we would have 10 years ago. I think when we started, we didn't want to clean Blizzard's laundry, but we didn't want to make a show for people who wanted to jump on the WoW pity party, right?
Hater.
Yeah. I mean, especially, put yourself in 2015, 2016, pre-Legion. There was a brutal stretch for the game. The dog days of Mists of Pandaria, trying to get out of that expansion. Mists of Pandaria was a great expansion for a year. Siege of Orgrimmar was a great raid for 4 months. There was 10 more months of that, right? Like, we spent and then you go into Warlords, which was great for 2 months. And then within 7 months, now you're into a raid that you're going to be in for another 14 months. So for a 3-year span, 28 months of that was just 2 raids. That was the reality. So this is the era we're navigating through. This was also 2015 into 16 was the beginning of this kind of Blizzard renaissance. They had this real moment in the mid-teens of like, wow, everything's really clicking. We figured out Diablo 3, and Diablo 3 is now Reaper of Souls has been out for a year, and it's getting better all the time, and we're continuing to tweak it. Hearthstone came out of nowhere and is a smash hit, and it's super fun, and it's super approachable.
Yep.
Heroes of the Storm is not setting the world on fire, but it's fun and different, and it has a personality, and it has an audience, and people are excited about it. Overwatch is this looming juggernaut that is primed to set the market on fire when it comes out. Does Blizzard still need World of Warcraft? Like,
that's a fair question at that point.
I really felt like that, and we wanted to come. We came into it with a lot of passion for the game, and we wanted to highlight cool stuff about this thing that we still loved, even though other shows in the space were dropping off. They were changing formats. Suddenly the show was 45 minutes about Heroes of the Storm and maybe 10 minutes of WoW. And so we weren't trying to do PR for World of Warcraft, but we wanted to accentuate the positive, I think, more so as part of just naturally. It wasn't a conscious thing. We didn't sit down and talk about this, but I think it was just a sort of a natural progression of how we were approaching the show at that point in time. To whereas today, it's more about. Also, it's much less rigid today, so stuff just flies. If we really like something, then we'll go down a rabbit hole with how cool it is and how much cooler it could be if this, and start armchair deving and stuff like that. We never did that 10 years ago, and by the same token, if something sucks, like, I'm going to say into the microphone, this sucks, and I'm upset that Blizzard made it suck. And which is something, I remember it was actually it was season 3, I think it was, in War Within, where they swerved us, or was it season 2? They swerved us horrendously on the item upgrade. So yeah, it was season 2, because they put out a blog post that was like, oh, here's how season 2 is going to work, and here's this item upgrade system, and blah, blah, blah. And it was originally supposed to be like the end of Dragonflight, where you could get an item with a really wide upgrade track. So you could buy 2 items, and as long as you got the crest, you could go all the way up. They didn't ship that, and then they pulled that blog post down, and they made it so that you had to kill if you killed the boss on Mythic, you could buy the item and upgrade it to max item level. If you killed the boss on normal or heroic, you could buy it on heroic and upgrade it all the way up. But if you rated heroic, you got the worst of both worlds. And I was pissed about that. I felt like I felt like they really violated players' trust, and that it just wasn't okay. And I went on a whole thing about that. And like, that's something I never would have done 9-10 years ago, because I wouldn't have wanted to put that energy out into the universe more than anything else, more than I need to wash Blizzard's laundry, because if I'm nice to them on the podcast, they'll do me favors. It was never that. It was, I don't want to put negativity out there about this thing that I theoretically enjoy. This is supposed to be fun for me, right? Like, this is what now it's like
chosen hobby.
Yeah. And like, it still is that, but I think I'm just more comfortable getting into stuff like that on TSZ Air than I would have been when we were kind of getting our feet. Because I think also I have a pedigree enough at this point of like, and nobody would ever accuse me of being a WoW hater, right? Like, I'm not trying to jump on the hate train. Like, I am trying to see multiple angles on any decision they make. I am trying to understand any player this might appeal to or do the opposite of appealing to. Like, I am, I try to be thoughtful in my criticism, and also I try to highlight elements of things that people who may be unhappy with something don't think about, but sometimes they just do stuff that, they shouldn't have done. like swerve in the reward system.
Right. And I think your ultimate credibility is you're going to be there next week and the week after and the week after. Like, if you truly hated it, it's not like you're pulling in millions doing this. So why would you do it if you hated it? Like, there is a love there, and therefore it's fair criticism when they're not getting it right and they're not, serving the player base. I think that's a vital function.
I mean, I think that's the approach we try to take. Yeah. I mean, it comes from a place of, I've played this, I've sat with it, I've thought about it, I've heard from other people too, or, I'm thinking of, the needs of the group that I play with, that is a big thing with a lot of these, I had the opposite experience recently, because we have basically the opposite of these changes coming in 12.1. And so that you can get higher track stuff from Heroic Raid once a week, which is awesome. And so I put that out into the universe, that I love it, and it's a great change, and it's so good I didn't think they'd ever do it. And of course I got some heat from that, because some people told me that I was a casual and I didn't deserve to have the good gear. And I'm like, I have max item level. Like, it's not about me or the way I play the game. Like, there are the other players actually exist. They're like real people with needs and goals. They pay the money to play the game too. Like, those are hard things for some people to internalize. Not that I pay any attention to that kind of stuff, but I don't care, because it's so obviously misguided. But yeah, so I'll gush about stuff like that. The bonus rolls, when the bonus roll system we have now came in, when we got the preview of that, I was gushing about that on the show too. I was like, "This is so good."
Effusive.
I don't think they're going to.
Yes.
I was like, "I don't think this is going to go live, or if it does, I don't think it's going to stay this way." And
right.
I was kind of right because they are peeling it back a little bit for 12.1. But I mean, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to fanboy out about a good thing that they do either. So. I feel like for me, I'm more comfortable just expressing my personality on the show than I was when we started. Yeah, I feel like stuff was a little bit more I don't know, antiseptic, maybe I would say early on. It's like it was very much just like, okay, welcome to the show. Here's the format. Here's the things we're talking about today. Okay, thanks. See you next time. And over the years, I think we just loosened up, and it's just more comfortable. Like, yes, we have a format and we have stuff we want to include in the show, but if we take a little detour into armchair dev land, then let's go there for a couple minutes. And if we want to do something a little silly, then we'll do it. And it's not some affront to the sanctity of the format anymore.
Let's change gears a little bit, and I want to kind of come back to rating and the number of weeks, the number of hours, the number of times I've listened to you and Spencer break down some raid system thing that I know I'm not going to care about and not going to see and I'm not going to participate in, and honestly don't even care. But I still listen. I feel like I have learned a lot about how these things operate without really stepping in. I mean, I've been in a couple raids. I did a raid sometime in the last year. I don't even remember when it was. And it was eye-opening and interesting. But I am not a participant in this system. I have nothing to do with it. And on some level, you guys will say things, and I think, well, that's stupid. Whether it's your opinions on it or just the way Blizzard has done it, there are things I'm like, that is just weird. Why does that work that way? Can I ask you about, and kind of starting from the top of this whole weird raid food chain thing, new expansion comes out or new season comes out, and what is the first thing that everybody dials in on? It's the Race to World first. And before we break that down, what's your opinion on this? This is a system that ultimately clearly serves 60 of the top raiders in the world. There's basically 3 teams that are going to win. And, I think you can start to argue there's one team that'll win. But, ultimately there's 3 teams in that race. That's 60 players. WoW has more than 60 players. So is this system, which, admittedly is not Blizzard's thing, it's not their event. This happens outside of Blizzard's purview. Is it good for the game? I think it has good and it has bad, but ultimately is the Race to World first a good thing for Warcraft?
I think the totality of it is that it's bad. Maybe quite bad. Because, okay, if you watch the Race to World first, it might be presented to you like you're watching a basketball game, but what you're watching, you're not watching the Knicks, you're watching the Harlem Globetrotters. And that's a whole different thing. It's not the same game. It's not the game you play at home. It's not the same sport. It's an exhibition for sheer entertainment. I hate the Race to World first. I pay no attention to it. I find no joy or interest in it. I yearn for the days when it was not a live stream event and you would check WoW progress and then Blood Legion or whoever would put up their screenshot. And then after the second or third team killed it, then you'd get the Fraps kill video that would come out on the forums. Like, that was the real Race to World first. And yeah, I see why it gets a lot of eyeballs. I think the way Blizzard handles it is stupid, honestly, because Blizzard likes to sit on the fence, and I feel like that's incorrect. They let the community run it. They let these orgs run it. They will put social media posts up and stuff, but it's not an official Blizzard production. They don't have any control over it. And also, the devs are in this weird arms race with the teams as they're progressing through. They'll hotfix buff bosses because the mechanics are too easy to do. What are we doing here? Like, why are we doing this? They're only too easy for the 20 best players in the world, you know? They'll hotfix nerf bosses because the race is taking too long and the event space they rented is gonna kick them out. Or the whole thing is absurd. I really think Blizzard should just totally ignore it and let it be whatever it is. And especially from the tuning side, like, what if the race was a weekend? Would that be okay? It wouldn't be good for these orgs, stream numbers that they get to pump up. They want exactly 2 weeks worth of stream numbers, no more, no less. We want 2 weeks of big engagement, and we'll see you in 6 months. Yep. But it can't be any longer than that because the players are tired and they want to go home, and the bills are piling up for the event space. And it's like, it's so stupid, and I hate it so much. If Blizzard isn't going to ignore it, then I think what they should do is take it over. And what I think they should do is, which I don't think they will ever do, but I would like to see them try to do a tournament server for the race on PTR before the race comes out to the public. You can register your team and you can compete on the realm. You go see Setzer Taran and you get all your gear for free, and off you go. And good luck to you. And that's the race to world first. And then you push it this way. You don't have any of these awful knock-on effects that the race has on the live game, because the race doesn't happen in a private environment. It happens on live realms with live auction houses. Okay. Like this has like real impacts on players, even though it's this bizarre sideshow that has nothing to do with World of Warcraft. And also they stunt tune the raids, and then teams that are trying to get CE struggle until nerfs come in. Nothing about the way it's handled makes sense to me. It seems like it doesn't benefit anybody except the orgs. It benefits Liquid, and it benefits, Echo and Method to some degree. It probably benefits Liquid the most. They are the biggest name in the space, the biggest org in the space. They have the most money, the most resources. They can afford the best players. They win all the time now. And so I'm sure it's a nice boon to them every, 3 times a year. Like, they need it. I don't understand the appeal. I don't think it's compelling to watch teams wipe 400 times on a boss. Like, it's just not to me. Yeah. I don't engage. When they first started doing it in BFA and they first started live streaming it, I was like, oh, this is wild. They're going to live stream like Mythic Raid Prog. Like, wow. And so I watched it a little bit and I was like, oh, actually, I don't like this. I don't care about this.
You think you want it, but you don't.
It's taken. Yeah, right. Like, I was like, oh wow, this is really ballsy to like live stream Mythic Raid Prog. And then but now it's just this sideshow. And I don't know. I definitely think it makes the raids worse, and I think it makes the game worse for the average player.
It has always been baffling to me. And again, being a fan of your show and listening to you guys, I know how the progression works. These guys start at Mythic Raid out of the gate. They, do all their split runs and all the things that everyone complains about, blah, blah, blah. But ultimately, they're battling Mythic level raid bosses. And then let's fast forward to the kind of bitter end of whatever raid tier is, and not throwing your team under the bus, but your team, a heroic raid team, is taking cracks at Mythic raid bosses that have no relationship to what they were progging on at the start of the season, and yet they get the same name. it would be fascinating to me for someone to do the math of, final boss. What did the final boss look like on the Race to World First Kill, and what does it look like in whatever week 20 or week 15 of the season? How diminished is that? Why call it the same thing? I think you're on it with just set aside a tournament realm, call it Race to World First level, and let Mythic be something that is vaguely related to the Mythic bosses that your team's going to tackle. I'm sure nerfs are a decent thing throughout the season. There's a reason for that. But if you were to chart that, if you were to like make a graph of that from the Race to World First Mythic, oh my God, that would be obnoxious, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, it'd be more pronounced a few years ago. I think it's less so now because they've kind of reverted to putting in like zone buffs where you kind of get stronger just from persisting every week, and you get some benefit or every few weeks. In War Within, it was like every few weeks it's going to tick up. In Midnight so far, it's been every week it ticks up. This kind of harkens back to like Wrath of the Lich King. We had Icecrown Citadel had a zone buff like this, and they kind of went away from it for a while because they're like, oh, it's too passive and it doesn't feel like players are earning it and we don't like it. And it's just brought it back. But I think it's okay. It prevents them from having to do a lot of retuning. And I think we've seen less retuning in Midnight Season 1 than we have in maybe some other recent seasons, but not as much retuning as we probably need. Like I think it gives them an excuse to have a light touch on the tuning, which is okay, but not really the point. But like you go back to Shadowlands, go back to Sepulchre, the first ones. That would be the really interesting one. I think the Anduin fight in that raid had the most line item hotfix changes of any boss I've ever seen in my life.
Oh wow!
They significantly reworked that boss and Halandras. They became completely different fights over the course of it. I mean, I think the other approach you could take is establish a lower difficulty baseline for Mythic in general, which I've been calling for years. Make it more approachable to like people who actually like play the game as a hobby and not as a career path, and then add scaling Mythic plus raid difficulty. No affixes, but just well, now you can do Mythic plus 2 raid, and so you can do the bosses with 25% more health and damage, or 15%, whatever you want to do, and then it becomes there's an element of how fast can you clear it upon release, but then also who can clear the highest. Except the teams at Race don't want that. They don't want to do that.
No, they want 2 weeks, like you said.
They don't want to have to play the game all season to try to keep pushing higher and higher ranks. They're done with that. So, like, I think that would be more compelling in a way to see how high you could get and have this additional layer of challenge versus this ridiculous sprint that, like, I'm not trying to diminish the skill level of these players because they're obviously the best players in the world. But the reason why... a big reason why Liquid has had the run of success it's had in the race is because of the amount of resources they have. Yes, they can do split runs, and they have legions of fans who will just fill out their split runs and funnel all the gear to them. I mean, people, I'm just doing it for Vault or whatever. Okay, yeah, you get a Vault, but like, who has time to raid for somebody else? I don't. I'm not doing that. And then the gold thing, and there's teams have gotten in hot water for real money transactions because you need to soak up a lot of gold to keep an organization to wipe 400 times with the modern cost of repair bills and consumables. Just that alone is absurd. And so you're procuring gold however you can get it, plus buying BOEs and all this kind of stuff. No mortal team of just people who have day jobs and then log in to play World of Warcraft at night. You don't have these kind of resources. It's just not a possibility. So, yes, they have their roster is stacked with world-class players, obviously, and I'm not taking that away from them you can't do it without exceptional players, without the best players in the world. But when you combine that with infinite resources that no other, even the other orgs don't have what Liquid has,
right?
It's not. It becomes. It's not even really a competition beyond a certain point, which is why I say it's like the Harlem Globetrotters. You know, it's an exhibition. It would be great if it was a weekend thing, and what that would portend for tuning for the rest of us.
It would let the devs get back to work on the game for the rest of us.
Yeah, right. Yeah, stop stunt tuning the raid and trying to make it for a more compelling stream broadcast, and just design the game and don't worry about that stuff. I don't see any of this changing anytime soon. I think this is pretty much locked in for forever. I don't see Blizzard willing to get off of this fence in either direction. And I think it's a mistake. How they don't benefit from the, maybe they have numbers. I don't have numbers. I just go by what I see, but it's like the race doesn't make them money directly. Yeah, but does it translate into dollars? There's hype and marketing all over the internet all the time for everything. That's like, they don't run anything on their channel, so they're not making money off of Twitch. They don't have any corporates, like they're not running the event. So they're not making any money from sponsorships or viewership or clicks or ads or anything. I guess they just hope that like people think it looks really cool and then they want to play World of Warcraft, but then you watch it and it's like 20 sweaty nerds in an event space, like trying to stay awake all night while they die in the same boss over and over again. Like, does that look like the thing you want to play? I don't know.
Not my Warcraft.
Right. Yeah. I just, it's like calcified into this weird thing that I don't, other than Liquid, which is one of the biggest esports orgs in existence that doesn't need anything from World of Warcraft, I don't know who it benefits.
Right. Your idea of sort of adding that Mythic Plus, progressing levels to raids is interesting, because it kind of plays into another question I had of it seems like, and again, passive observer, not a participant, so you can ignore everything I say. That goes for everybody listening. But the amount of nerfing over the season, the amount of changes to fights, to health, to whatever it is, to, I don't want to say water down because that sounds mean, but it kind of is. It's lowering the difficulty of an individual raid, individual boss, what have you. That always seems weird to me. And in my mind, why not have a system that it stays relatively stable, and you as the player, including whatever buffs that, like you said, the zone buffs and whatever buffing Blizzard is doing for players, but keep the levels the same. With exceptions to, oh my God, this boss is unkillable, or, oh, this is not working like we want. Sure, obviously. But keep something the same overall and let people earn their way up, instead of, oh, can't wait till Mythic's easier and we can get into it and say we were there. That's a weird floating, ultimately an achievement. Hey, I killed these Mythic bosses. Oh, well, when did you do it? Which week? That becomes, those things aren't equal. And so I think the idea of saying, hey, LFR is this, normal's this, heroic's this, mythic's this, and if you get good, go into the Mythic Plus, like you said. Wouldn't that be nicer? What do you think of that? If that was the case, everything kind of stayed mostly the same over the course of a season.
It could work, but I think not with some of what they typically do with encounter design.
Yeah. Okay.
There's just too many mechanics that are obnoxious, or like don't work out the way that maybe they planned, or maybe the way that like they internally play tested, and they were like, oh, this is a fun interactive mechanic, or this is like a fun puzzle for players to solve. It's a lot different, I think, when you have, I don't think there's a way for them to get a real feel for some of these things.
Sure.
Internally. Like, I mean, a perfect example right now is the boss that is making me count the days for Venomous Abyss to release. And who knows, 5 months from now, I might be like, I cannot wait to get out of this raid. But like, Midnight Falls, the Lura fight, it's got the memory game. and it's got these rotating glaives that the boss shoots out that will just straight up kill you, and it's super easy to avoid, but people just stand there and die. And it's like, like on heroic, I mean, I think I don't know how many wipes we had in that fight, 80 maybe, and that's a lot for us anymore. You know, in the olden days, I think like Archimond back in Hellfire Citadel was like 80 wipes, and rating was a bit different. That was a long time ago. And I would say the median skill level on my team was lower back then, and that took 80 wipes, and this boss took about 80 wipes, I think, for us to get AOTC. And then we've had nights where I had to say, okay, we're calling it, because I just don't have the group to kill this tonight. To me, that's absurd. That boss is just way too mechanically dense and punishing for, you know, in terms of if you make a mistake. And I think there are just elements like that, you know. Crown of the Cosmos is another fight in this season that is like that. It's less, but that was like 40 wipes. And, you know, for us to have basically 2 end bosses, it doesn't feel great. Like, because there's other targets beyond that, right? And you really only have, in my experience, I've been leading a raid team for a really long time. You have a really tight window that people are invested and want to log in and raid. And when it's done, it doesn't matter why or what else is going on. When it's done, it's done. People are just gone. And so if you don't hit those targets, then you're just never going to get them. Like in my team's case right now, there's definitely 1, maybe 2 mythic bosses that we could prog if I could get the entire team to actually log in on a raid night. But those days are gone in this season, you know? And I think that's part of the reason why they do need to make adjustments. Now, what they could do is, again, decrease the baseline difficulty, move the difficulty target down, however they determine that. I don't know if it's strictly mob tuning, if it's mechanical density or complexity, or some metric that combines all these things. If you move that target down just to begin with, then you would have to probably do fewer adjustments in general, because, and maybe that goes hand in hand with having more of a scaling difficulty, like an optional difficulty that doesn't reward additional power, but achievements or something, you know, additional prestige for, you know, doing this harder than it has to be just because you want to. I think if they rethink the whole thing, that it could be, but I think the way they've designed the game and the way raid bosses, there's always like one boss at least every tier that has some over-designed mechanic that is a complete chore to have to revisit every week.
Stone Legion Generals.
It's not it.
Is that one of them?
Yeah, like I don't. Jeez, anything in Shadowlands, forget it.
I'm just pulling names that I heard you guys bitch about forever.
SLG was really bad on Mythic. It was, which I never did. It wasn't great on Heroic. I don't have fond memories of Castle Nathria. People love it because it's like, it is a really cool. It's like Castlevania the Raid. Like it's awesome looking. Like you're raiding a vampire castle, right? Like how cool is that? I get that part of it. If you had to raid lead it for 8 months or whatever I did, like it was brutal. It was harrowing because SLG had mechanics that, like, if one person doesn't know what they're supposed to do, you're dead. Start over. Okay, great. Well, guess what? Everybody who knew what to do didn't feel like playing anymore, and they won't log in until the new raid comes out. So I got to teach a team that half knows what they're doing with 3 people that don't know what they're doing, and those people are inevitably going to get picked for the mechanic and kill us. Like, and then, you know, you had a fight like Denathrius right after that, where the phase 1 into phase 2 transition, it was based on health percentage, and you had these debuffs on the party that you had to remove via the mechanics the boss did, but you had to get all the debuffs off of everybody before you transitioned them. So the more you powered up and the more damage you started doing, the harder that fight became in phase 1. Or it's not harder, but it became a different puzzle to solve every week. And you didn't know exactly when you're going to push them over the limit. And so like, how do you approach getting the debuffs removed? Like stuff like that. It's like, I don't know what they explain. There's something wrong, obviously, with my brain chemistry where I'm like, I just keep coming back for this year after year. I mean, 15 years of raiding with this team and leading it for almost as long, not quite. And like, from a raid leader perspective, it's like, I don't know how could you expect anything more from us? But Shadowlands was really the worst for that. Like, the Shadowlands was, as an expansion, it definitely had some massive problems. It was definitely a low point for the game. The raids weren't unfun, but they had some of the most punishing and harrowing mechanics I've ever experienced. Stuff that like we will remember forever and go, we'll be doing a new raid and it'll have some mechanic that we hate, and you'll go, well, at least it's not the Sylvanas fight. At least it's not what you know what I mean. They have dialed it back, but I don't know. I think a raid season, a tier, it is an organism in a way.
Okay.
It ebbs and flows. It moves through different eras. There are different needs for it at different stages of its life cycle. So I understand your point, but I think the way the game is designed, I think it's better the way that they do it, but they've had too light of a touch in recent seasons because I think they lean on the zone buff to smooth over the pain points. The pain points are not the throughput. The pain points are the mechanics in most of these cases. If you take one glaive off of Lura and you cut one whole phase of the memory game out or reduce the memory game by one symbol, that fight becomes significantly easier and you didn't change the tuning. You know, the boss does the same amount of health. It still does the same amount of damage to you. So, you know, those are I feel like they're not touching these up as much as they have in the past, and there are definitely some cases where I would like them to. Maybe that's also part and parcel with the production schedule, because maybe they don't have the resources to go in and say, we're going to tweak this boss for the next 6 weeks. You know, they're not going to do that. So maybe that all comes together. But yeah, I think it needs to have that ebb and flow, because it's different because of the attendance element, the attendance boss, right? You need to keep people feeling like it's worth it to log in and try this boss, or I'm going to get a clear done super fast tonight, and then I'm going to go watch that show I DVR'd, or you know what I mean? Whatever it is. It's like, when it's brand new, it's like, oh, sweet, let's get in there. Yeah, let's do an extra night this week. Let's go for it. And then week 4, it's like, let's get this over with. I got something going on, you know, and it's like, I think they need to respect that. So I don't know. I think they could do a more static tuning approach if they'd have to bring the overall complexity and difficulty down a bit before they could stick that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I think once or twice a year, I get the same thought when you're talking on the show about, you know, kind of this late season attendance, this and that. I think, I wonder if I should just reach out and say, hey, I'll come jump in with you. And then you say something like, and then we brought in these 3 guys who know nothing about what they're doing. I'm like, damn it, that would be me. Nope, not going to do it.
I would have no choice but to kick you out of a Midnight Falls. Like,
I know.
I would feel bad about it. I wouldn't want to do it, but for the sake of everyone else in the group, I would have no choice. Like,
yep.
A lot of my crew's been with me for years. They'd be, you know, I mean, we're not obviously in a room together, but they'd be side-eyeing me like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? You feel that pressure too, because it's like you need to respect the group's time. So that's why those kind of pass-fail mechanics, we hate them. We don't want them, and they're good about it sometimes, but this time we got some that are pretty bad. So I'm hoping Venomous Abyss reverses the trend here.
On a social level, that has to make your job hard as a raid leader to make those decisions. I mean, I hear you, every few weeks say something about, yep, I had to leave 4 people off and we went with whatever, 20 or whatever it is. And I think, man, that's hard. That's going to be hard conversations if for, maybe not the right people who, I mean, you got to be pretty happy-go-lucky to never think, oh, well, Jason thinks I suck. Oh, well, that's okay. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's uncomfortable. Like, I don't like having to, but then again, like, everybody runs meters.
Right.
You can
see the meter. Yeah.
Yeah, like, know. And are meters fair? Not all the time, but there's exceptions, right? Like a fight we're doing right now on a regular basis is Rotmire, which we are doing on Flex Mythic. Mm-hmm. There's a particular mechanic that means I have somebody assigned to peel off and damage one mob in particular. So at the big part where all the mobs come up and everybody's just padding and doing massive AoE parses, this guy is, shooting lightning bolts at one mob. So his meters and his parses suck, but he's performing a vital function that we have agreed is going to be his job. Yeah. So, obviously it's not an open and shut case. It's like, I just look at the bars and the 4 people that are doing the worst go bye-bye. Like it doesn't work like that. There's other decisions that need to be taken into account, but also like I have some people that know that they are not the top performers, right? Sure. And they are okay with the arrangement that they get in for more stuff than they have to sit for, but they're not always going to be first off the bench. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so, but like, I mean, I can think of somebody who fits that example who I've been playing on and off with since Mists of Pandaria. She's been pretty consistent the last few expansions. She was in and out here and there. Never been one of our strongest throughput players, but she's pretty good with mechanics. I can give her a job and be relatively confident that she can execute it. Yep. She can use a microphone. So she has value to the team, but if we're dying to a hard enrage in a fight because we just don't have the throughput, like she can't stay in the group. Yeah. So, but these are things that, the community, the collective understands. The tricky part is when people come in who are a friend of a friend or somebody's buddy who's getting back in or somebody who is apping to the team and wants to check it out. And we're not here to amuse you in particular, right? Like
no tourist mode. Yeah.
Yeah. There's 20, we'll say there's 20 other people here who are expecting a certain level of experience with their evening. Right. And so, I have to find the moments where those decisions have to be made and I have to make them. I mean, I never, give anybody shit about it. Right. I don't even say people's names. I put them in one of the raid groups. I say, okay, group 8, go ahead and drop. Thank you for coming. See you tomorrow, whatever it is. It's, wow. Yeah. Yeah. It's not about shaming anybody, but it's about the reality of respecting everyone's time and the overall objective of the team, putting the team first and whatever we're trying to accomplish in that span of time. And yeah, sometimes people get pissed. And I mean, I've been on the other side of that years ago, it sucks. It does. I get it. But then again, people who've been around the team a long time know that if they're persistent, we're going to keep raiding and they're going to get spots and they're going to get kills and they're going to get loot and they're going to get their achievements. You know what I mean? They're not going to miss out on anything if they have to sit down for a night. And I take it seriously. My raid team is not a group of players that are there to advance my goals in the game. Right. Like I do stuff in the game all the time that I don't really want to do because it's what's right for the team. Yeah. I'll throw that raid together on a night when I don't want to show up. Yes, we'll go die hopelessly on this mythic boss that we will never kill because everyone else wants to do it or a critical mass of other people want to do it. I mean, but that's the give and take, That's how the team dynamic works. Everybody has to compromise a little bit, you know, on something. I always make people ask me about like loot or something like that, or you know, something, and it's like, well, if you're gonna equip it, then roll need on it, and if not, then don't. And it's simple. It's kind of the honor system, and it's like my approach to making decisions around that kind of stuff is always like, what is going to make the most amount of people equally unhappy? I'm never going to make everybody happy, right? But if I can distribute the unhappiness, it's probably a good decision. That's kind of like, I want to spread that unhappiness across the group like just a thin layer of mayo on a ham sandwich. You know what I mean? I don't want a big glob of it anywhere. But it's like, if you do that, then I think you are going to have those moments where that cool thing drops and somebody gets it and they're stoked, or you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then that feels really good versus like, it's not all about like, well, we got to gear up the tanks first because yeah. I'm the one who put the raid together, so everybody needs to funnel me stuff. Like, right. I mean, you know, I mean, listen, if somebody wants to hook me up with a BOE, I'm not going to say no, but there's no pressure around stuff like that. You know, it's really, and I think that's the longevity with the team that we have. Yes, it's not all the same people, but I do have people that I've been playing with since Cataclysm Mists of Pandaria. Wow. That was a long ass time.
That is,
and it's because, you know, we try to put the team first. We try to be realistic with ourselves and honest with each other about real life versus a video game, you know, all these kinds of things. Like, sure. I try to value people as individuals who are contributing their time to the team and what in whichever way they contribute to the raid. You know, it isn't this like anonymous experience of like, okay, this is the strat, everybody knows what to do, go. It's like, we're invested in each other, and that's what makes it, that's what gives it the longevity. If we're just dipping in and out to kill bosses and, you know, see you next patch, then I'm sure that the nucleus of the team would have disintegrated, you know, expansions ago.
Sure. Yeah. You said something interesting a moment ago that cued something I think of every now and then. You said the person with the role of do this and then peel off and kill this mob when they come reminds me that a lot of these encounters are set up kind of clockwork, and they come at you the same way every time, which is the reason deadly boss mods can say, hey, in 15 seconds, you're going to have to deal with this, and in 20, that. Has there ever been, and I think I know the answer to this, but has there ever been a time where things are more random in these boss encounters? The boss doesn't just say, oh, my timer's up, I'm going to swing my thing. Can they give it a window to say, hey, the boss might use their big ability in this 10-second window? And if that doesn't happen, which I don't think it does, would that be something that would be interesting? Like just broadening out this could happen, this might happen, not too much, because you don't want it to just be we got the thing and it mutilated us. Maybe next time it'll be different, but some variation, would that be welcome?
That's tough. It really is. Because on its face, it's like, well, yeah, it's a game, right? And it's more engaging. There's more interactivity if there's an element of variance. But in practice, like WoW bosses, I think are at their best, like raid bosses, when they're a dance that the team is executing in as like one, you know, big thing moving around the arena with the boss.
Sure.
Variance is tough because it makes it hard to learn. And there have been, I mean, these days they don't really do this. You know, things are more rigid in terms of their timers and the way things overlap and the way spells get queued. Mm-hmm. There have been times in the past where you would, I think that was one place where challenge was, it felt kind of artificial, but it would be injected, would be like, okay, this boss has 3 abilities and they're on 3 separate timers. So sometimes the ability 3 comes in closer to ability A than ability B. And then that means that you have, when you have that overlap, then you have to approach it in a different way. That stuff, in general, I think can be really annoying. Because then it becomes a race to like, how can we avoid that overlap? Can we kill it before that happens? How do we optimize it to the point where we don't have to deal with the bad overlap, right? Like that's what you just, once you are accustomed to a fight like that, like you just call it that and everybody knows what you mean when you say the bad overlap on that boss fight. Things too, like there have been sometimes, they haven't done this in a while, but there would be times where in a raid or a dungeon, there would be some like weekly variance. So this week, this boss is active first. And that means that you have to do the fight like this. And then, but it's like that all week. And then next week, I think there's like varying degrees of success there. I think, having like windows of when a boss could use an ability that's off cooldown. We've seen stuff that is kind of like that in the past, but I feel like a lot of times it's because of either some kind of bug generally, or just because of ability queuing. It's like it's off cooldown, but the boss can't use it yet because it's doing this other thing. Got it. To me, I think the issue with that in terms of the fun factor is that the game gives you, the player, a set of tools to use to solve your problems. If this boss is going to smack me with this ability on this timer, then I have the button that is the solution to that problem, but I only have it available at certain times. So if I use it when I'm supposed to use it, and then the boss randomly has like a 15-second cooldown reduction and uses it again, well, now I'm probably dead, right? Yeah. So things like that are kind of tough. And they have done stuff like that too, where it's like, if you don't react to this properly, then the boss starts spamming the bad thing. I mean, it's a wipe, it's just a wipe mechanic at that point. So I think WoW really shines when players can demonstrate like mastery over a fight. And that's where they can really start optimizing their approach to it. And I think there's a lot of appeal to your week in, week out raiders in like, how can I do better than last week? Or let me try this new build, and I think you have those sort of moments of discovery of like, the progging on a boss and figuring out those windows. And like, that's one kind of fun, but I think at some point you need to stop having that kind of fun and move into I have mastered this dance. And now the fun is, how do I do this better? Or how do I weave in something I wasn't doing before? I think there's value in that. So I think they could do more stuff with variance on boss fights, and maybe in solo content would be a place for that. Like, in Delves or a Nemesis fight or something, because you don't have those elements of the other players. Obviously you could do it with groups, but again, like I'm thinking variables. Of like, I'm thinking of like the Nemesis boss where you're going for the, let me solo her achievement or whatever. Right. Yeah. And, so you're doing it solo, and it's a very challenging fight. And I think that's a gentler place actually to introduce variance, because one player is going to be doing it. They're doing it on their own schedule. It's not dependent on other people being there. It's not dependent on what other abilities the raid has or what other people are doing at that time. So like, you can have it be a little bit less predictable maybe, and still make it successful in a way that could be fulfilling for players. Whereas I think if you introduce too much variance into a traditional raid encounter, it just becomes frustrating. Like, players want to execute the dance. Like, I know the steps of this dance. Let me do them. And let me hit my cooldown windows, and let me parse. And that's what they come back for, I think, in a lot of cases.
Makes sense. Yeah. Looking ahead, we're 21 years into this game, and it feels crazy to say looking
almost
ahead.
22.
Right? But clearly, like we've had the hints of, Metzen saying, "Oh, we're looking at 17.x and all this crazy stuff." How are you feeling about the future of Warcraft, the universe, and specifically World of Warcraft, the game? Are you feeling positive about it? Are you worried about it? Where are you on that?
I would say neither of those. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't like feel that the outlook is that positive right now, to be honest, which is just maybe bad to say, but I'm not like worried about it. I don't think Warcraft and WoW is going anywhere, but I do think it's just going to be this kind of slow decline, and unless they are willing to take a big leap, I think again, I'm getting this from nowhere. I have no inside sources of information. I feel like they think they cracked the code with the Dragonflight formula, and they can repeat it ad infinitum because it's a proven concept. And I love Dragonflight. I thought it was an incredible expansion. I think Dragonflight Into War Within was maybe the best, back-to-back expansion release we've had maybe ever, if not in a really long time. I don't think Midnight feels that way. Okay. I don't think Midnight is bad, but Midnight feels like a rerun of War Within in a lot of ways with a couple new wrinkles. I think it's cool to revisit old places with new coats of paint, but when that is like the highlight and the central experience of an expansion, I think that has a negative impact on the game as well. WoW is an adventure. You're supposed to go out and explore a new place and learn new things and encounter new people. There is an element of navel gazing that we're getting into with Midnight. We're in the same places that we've been before. Yes, they're new and they have new stories to tell, but WoW just doesn't, I don't think it shines when you're kind of just revisiting this stuff. And I don't think Midnight has a sense of place. And I think I wouldn't put Midnight among the worst expansions we've had so far. I mean, we're not that far into it yet, but I don't think it's in danger of being like a bottom 3 expansion. Yeah. But the worst expansions have not had strong senses of place for me. I think Shadowlands would be in that category. I think Cataclysm would be in that category. And I think, Midnight has some of those same issues. And I think the formula is just getting a bit stale. I'm sort of committed to, I'm pretty sure that this is the formula that's going to persist through Last Titan. And I'm like, okay with that. I've made my peace with this is the era of the game that we're in. Yeah. I think if they want to really invigorate the game and bring players to it, they need to take some big swings after Last Titan. Otherwise, you just have this kind of graying player base that is going to continue to find reasons why they don't want to log in anymore. I don't know. Obviously, we don't have numbers or anything. I don't know what engagement is like, but I just see it in my little corner of the game and the people that I play with and how little of a priority it has become for some of them. And like I said, the increased churn, people just dropping off faster than ever before after new stuff comes out. I think these are solvable problems in some ways, but I'm not sure that Blizzard will crack that case. I don't think you can keep copy pasting the Dragonflight kind of production roadmap for expansion after expansion and expect players to be compelled. They've had their best successes when they have shaken up the formula and when they have tried something different, and I understand that from a production standpoint, you have to you have to let things settle and you have to probably have those sort of copy paste moments, you have to build off of what's already there. Sure. But every once in a while, I think you need to take a big swing and I think they're going to need to do that in order for WoW to still feel relevant. I mean, in a lot of ways, WoW isn't relevant, Right. It doesn't really make any waves in the broader industry. you hear things all the time like people still play World of Warcraft. It's I mean, really, and it's fine. I've been hearing that since 2008 or 9, so it doesn't really bother me. But they spend a lot of money and a lot of blood and sweat and tears to get this game out there. I don't think they market it well. I don't think they've marketed it well for a long time. Mm-hmm. It's just not really. I thought with Midnight they were doing some interesting things in terms of like they bought TV ads again for the first time in a long time, but it's a heavy focus on housing, and housing is just like I think housing is pretty clearly not the feature that's going to lead WoW into a bold new era. Like people like it, but it's not like it has ignited some huge new. At least as far as I could tell, it's not like it's ignited some huge new population among the player base. I don't see a lot of talk about it. I don't see it on Twitch a lot. I don't see people who are new to the space that are now like, I'm a WoW housing creator now because I never played WoW, but now you can decorate your house. So this is what, like, I'm not saying people don't engage with the feature or don't stream it or whatever, but it hasn't been this explosion. It's not this revolution to the way people approach the game. So I think they leaned on it really heavily for Midnight marketing and stuff, and it's not a core feature of the game. It's just not. So I think they need to, they need to double down on like what makes WoW cool and like why you should play it, like what's cool about playing it, and market it as such, instead of trying to grab Final Fantasy 14 players and grab cozy gamers and all. I'm not saying that like you don't have value among those player, like I'm sure those players could find stuff to like about WoW, but it's not WoW's like core identity. It's a cool feature, but it's not, it's not the daily gameplay experience for most people, I don't think. Yeah.
Looking back, you're on the record as having Legion as your favorite era of the game for sure. What was the magic going on in Legion? What made it so special for you and for a lot of people? And can that inform what they need to do next?
Yeah, I definitely think that it can. I mean, well, I'll tell you what, the real sauce with Legion was that they had basically an extra year to develop it.
Right.
They had to bail out on Warlords early for a variety of reasons, and they did, and they made very good use of that time. And that is Legion is kind of a unicorn in that way because it just had more time to cook than other expansions are ever going to get. I mean, that's sort of the meta reason. That has nothing to do with playing the game, but I think in terms of why. There's a few different things that go into it. I thought that, first of all, Illidan is maybe my favorite character in the fiction. Mm-hmm. And so bringing Illidan back in such a big way and going on this adventure that I don't think anybody could have predicted, like from the initial look at Legion, like what all was going to happen, like this showdown with the Burning Legion on the Throne World, like that whole thing. It spiraled out into a much bigger scale than I ever really thought. But, just the zones, Stormheim, just total Northrend vibes with the Vrykul style characters and all that. And, that was the one that really jumped out to me in the beginning. Val'sharah, there's like this ancient, druidic kind of forest and all that kind of core night elf stuff. Like, High Mountain, people hated questing through it because people just want to zoom through to endgame so they can kill the raid boss and get their AOTC and then not log on until the next patch comes out. I love questing through zones and being taken on a ride and told the story. High Mountain, I think it's just like High Mountain is still to this day, 10 years later, just stunningly gorgeous. It was such a fun zone to play through. If you just took the ride, it was such a great zone. So, I mean, I have just a lot of fond memories of that. I think bringing the classes forward and making the player really feel identity with their class was so great. And they can't ever do that again because they don't have the time is really the tragic part of it. Like, they had time to build all this stuff out for each different class, which they don't have the luxury to do. And that's why you don't get it all the time now. Maybe one day if they expand the pipeline wide enough, but that you have the quality problem. Like, just because you can do it doesn't mean it's all going to be that good. They had the time to do it right, you know? The artifact weapon was so cool just to have, you know, in the case of Prot Warrior, it's like it was a thing they made up for Legion. It didn't have any previous standing in universe or anything, but they gave it a cool story and a cool wrapper around it. And I love the system of just like, I have this sword and shield. I'm going to have it all expansion. Every time I play, it gets stronger. You know, people hated the artifact power grind. I couldn't get enough of it. I loved it so much. It just felt so great to have a reason to log into, especially after, again, we're coming through that era of the end of Mists all the way through Warlords. I had been waiting for 3 years for a reason to log into WoW every day. You know, it was just so perfect. So, you know, that was also where we got Mythic Plus for the first time. Was it the perfect Mythic Plus experience? No, they had a lot to learn about what makes that tick. But just the idea of like, oh, what if we had dungeons that were like challenging again? Like we can do something in that small group space. We can add powerful rewards into that system. You know, they took a lot of chances, and there was a lot of polish in Legion. And plus the theming was just so perfect for me. Demons are the perfect bad guy for WoW. If anything, that's the biggest problem with Legion, is it kind of, you know, it kind of put a cork in the Burning Legion thing. And that, I think that's a problem that's created problems they've had difficulty solving from a storyline standpoint. Like having Sargeras out there, whatever he's doing, he's trying to reform and regain his power, and his agents are everywhere. Like, that is a super simple conceit for a video game, and losing that was maybe kind of a problem. But I mean, overall, it was executed so well, and I love the ride that it took us on. But yeah, I mean, that extra dev time, I think was huge. You know, I don't think you get Legion without the Warlords crash out. You know.
Yep. If you could steer the ship for a few minutes, what changes would you bring to World of Warcraft? What things would improve your game? I mean, you don't have to do it for the entire game, but what would you like to see?
Slow down combat just by a little bit. I don't want to go back to vanilla, but I don't want to hear I can't raid tonight because my wrist hurts. Right. You know what I mean?
Sure.
We can slow it down. I think there's enough room to slow it down without making it boring. I would love to see less homogenous gear. I want gear that is tailored more to the job of the player using it. And I want stuff that you look at and go, is this better than that? I don't know. Let me try it out. Let me run some sims and figure it out. You have to do that with some stuff now, but I'm talking about like, I want weapons that have different swing speeds like we used to have. Yeah. I want all of that texture back in the itemization. One of the most fun things about an RPG is chasing gear and getting new gear and equipping it and using it. Gear in WoW is not as fun as it used to be. And it's a necessity. You need it, but you get it kind of everywhere. And it's cool when you get the stuff that you want, but it just kind of makes the number go up. You know, it doesn't add dimensions to gameplay in a way that it could. And I guess another thing would be, it's tied into that because gear has stats on it. Stats are way too calcified into the system of you have primary, stam, and 2 of your 4 secondaries. The secondaries are not interesting in there. They've been this way for too long. They need to be they need a shake up of some kind. I think we need to add more secondaries into the pool and make them a bit weirder. Armor Pen from back in the day had its issues because it was like too good, but maybe something along those lines, or something like crit strike damage. We've seen that on some items here and there over the years, but that's an interesting concept that some, like Diablo plays with that, ARPGs play with that. So when you crit, it does more damage than a crit does if you don't have bonus crit damage, Multi-strike was a cool secondary from years past. It didn't really work out, but just the idea of there's more than 4 possibilities on a piece of gear.
Right.
I think there can just gearing and stats in general haven't felt satisfying to me in this game in a really long time. That's another thing that maybe put on the wish list for after the big Last Titan reset.
Right. Yeah.
I want that. It's just stuff that's like angular, something that has edges on it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this does this, but this does this other thing. And is this good? I don't know, but it could be better. It's like now it's just, do I want crit or mastery? I want crit. Well, this is more crit, so I use the thing with crit.
Right.
Okay, what a fun and engaging decision I just made for my character. Again, it's like it has. WoW has moved very far away. We were talking earlier about the roots of like they're trying to make combat like a tabletop game. I mean, how far we have come from that. And, in some ways for the better, but I feel like in general, there isn't enough texture with our characters. I want to feel like I have some agency over how my character plays. And it's not just, okay, well, I have haste up to this much. And then I have as much mastery as I can get. And now my character is correct. Okay, I can understand the appeal there to some degree, and I mean, obviously, I participate in this system, but I don't think it needs to be like this forever. It's been like this for a really long time. It wasn't always like this, so I think those are some things that I would love to revisit. Just they feel really stale in 2026.
Yeah, but I can tell you from a perspective of, I don't need my gear level to rise every week to meet that challenge to do. I don't have those same goals. And yeah, when I get a piece of gear, that decision is not impactful on me at all. I just pick something and I keep going. And yeah, there's no great meaning to it. So it would be great to have some flavor, even if you're not, like I said, pushing that edge of I need to keep pace to get the content that I'm geared at and trying to get down. Yeah. Just
have something that like it feels an impact on your character, right? Like the way it is now, okay, well, your stats move up and down, but see, they have tailored the game so much to the seasonal churn and the seasonal meta and the treadmill that like they have scaled the value of secondary stats, right? So you get, when you need those early rating points so that you can hit those break points and your spec plays properly, you get those really fast. And then diminishing returns kick in way earlier than years ago. And so you can't really get too much more of that stat. But then you start layering on other stuff and it just becomes, again, very homogeneous. It doesn't really feel that different beyond a certain point, no matter what you do with your gear. I mean, I guess if you go from an extremely high haste to low haste build or high crit to low crit build, like, yeah, there are obviously outliers for what I'm saying, but like there isn't that immediate impact of I have changed my gearing or I've gotten a gear upgrade. My character now feels different to play. I have geared my character. I have statted my character in a different direction. It now feels different to play. We don't have those moments anymore.
Right.
If we ever really had them in any great degree, but I would love to see him play around with that more instead of just like, well, yeah, try to get to about 25 to 35% on all your secondaries and have fun out there.
Hey, you got a few minutes for a lightning round?
Yeah, my brain is still working. It's getting pretty late, but
that's okay. You don't need a brain for the lightning round.
Okay,
that's the nice thing. The goal of the lightning round is I ask really short questions, and sometimes we have short answers. and often we don't. It's very not much like lightning usually, but we'll see how this goes. Question 1. What zone are you hoping that you never have to revisit so long as you play this game?
Ooh, can I say just everything from Shadowlands? Is that allowed? Can I say
it is.
We'll just go like 5 zones,
yes.
whatever it is, 6 zones. But, I don't want to go back there.
Pangea of awfulness. There you go.
Yeah.
All right. That is a fair answer. I will allow that.
I'm sorry, exterior level designers and zone. It's not your fault. It's not. It's not. You did your best, and there's cool stuff. I just don't want to go there.
Did you like the Maw?
I did. Yeah. Tank privilege.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Well, I liked it because Druid, I could mount and I could stealth. Right. And I liked. It was hard, but I liked it. Yeah.
Yeah. I liked it because it felt old school. It was like you're gonna die out here. Yeah. My rogue friends didn't like it, and I was like, just play tank spec, and they didn't think that was funny.
Question number 2: have you ever danced on a mailbox for money?
No. I should. I mean, I've been playing a female night elf for 21 and a half years. Be raking it in probably. There you go. I've never done it. I'm too busy on the grind. There you go. You know what I mean?
Question 3, related. Have you ever supported the financial well-being of a player dancing on a mailbox?
I have not. No.
Right, you're just not participating in that system at all, are you?
I'm too busy trying to get power. You know, I'm not hanging out in Lion's Pride or whatever. Like, I'm busy out there in the world on an adventure.
How many characters do you have on Moonguard? I guess that's a supplemental question.
0 actually. Okay. Yeah, I don't have any.
Okay.
I see people when I see people log on to Moonguard tunes, I'll just send them a tell. I'm like, I see you.
Nice. Question number 4. Do you have a favorite storyline in the Warcraft universe?
Man.
You mentioned Illidan a little earlier.
I mean, Illidan is probably my favorite character. Yeah, I mean, like, does War of the Ancients count as a storyline? It's 3 novels, and it informs so much of the world in the game.
Well, reading the question word for word, it says in the Warcraft universe, so yes, that is acceptable.
All right. I'll go War of the Ancients. Yeah, it's a really long line, but it's a storyline.
Question number 5: what is the coolest mount in the game? And I guess, do you have it yet?
Jeez.
I know you're not a huge mount guy, but there's got to be something that you just in 21 years catches your fancy.
Yeah, there are some. But I kind of get distracted by the new shiny. Mm-hmm. So like right now I'm thinking about tomorrow reset, Timewalking, get my Spawn of Vyranoth. So like that'll be the coolest mount like tomorrow. Right. Yeah. That's just kind of how I operate, I guess. I have a soft spot for the old, BFA 5 million gold Brutosaur.
Fair.
I use it every day. Yeah. And sometimes I still get tells about it, like, that mount's such a flex. It's like, yeah, it kind of is.
Yep.
But the yak from Miss Pandaria. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it has a cool. It's just how you can tell. I'm middle-aged. Because like it's just so utilitarian, man. I bought it for a reasonable price back in Miss Pandaria. Use it to transmog,
still using it. Yep.
Use it for repairs. So, and I'm no Grummel hater. I love the Grummels. So
they're fantastic.
I don't know, they're pretty weird and boring choices, I guess. But that's
beware of Yeti.
But no, really, like I do get my thing with mounts is like whatever the newest one I've earned through gameplay is, that's probably the one I'm using. So like right now, for my raid spec, I have the mount from doing the Delve Nemesis for this season, the mech suit. Yeah. And then for my dungeon set, I have the other mech suit that I got from doing 3,400 Mythic Plus rating.
Oh yeah, yep.
So, next season I'll probably use the Vyranoth mount starting this week for my raid set, and then next season I'll just cycle through as I start working my way up Keystone Hero and whatever other mounts. I'll just put those on. So I just go with like whatever the new, I don't know. The new
Hotness.
prestige mounts are. I just swap them in. Yeah, I rarely go back to an old one.
Yeah. Do you have different mounts for different characters?
Yeah. I try to match it. I'm not much of an RPer, but it does. The aesthetic matters to me. So, like on my Monks of Pandaren, and last summer they did the crossover promotion for Miss Pandaria, where if you played through Wandering Isle, you got the like the green mist serpent.
Love that.
So it's like, that's just probably my Brewmaster's mount forever.
Yep.
So I'm trying to line it up. I think probably I think my DK, it's like, okay, your DK just rides Invincible, right? So I got that set up. I got Invincible last year when Collector's Bounty was going on. So
me too.
Sometimes my mage, I guess, on this I do get kind of into it a little bit, I guess. Because like my mage, I usually play Frost. That's my spec of choice. I don't play it much, but when I do play, that's what I play. The Jaina mount, the Jaina's Water Ellie, it's just, sometimes it's a little too on the nose. It's just too perfect. You can't.
Yeah.
What else is it going to ride? If you have that in the stable, like it's just, but the warrior, the only thing I really play in in-game content, it's like whatever the new thing the game gave me, that's probably the thing I'm riding around on.
2 more questions. Number 6, you have heard many of these in your career, I'm sure, but what is the most memorable boss dialogue from a dungeon or a raid? Memorable to you?
Oh man, there's a couple really good ones. The one that this is, I don't know if this counts because this is dungeon dialogue, but it's not like during a boss fight.
Okay.
It's from Neltharion's Lair. Mm-hmm. And there's a part where like Ebonhorn is arguing with the boss, or I don't even know what the context of dialogue is.
What's that guy's name? To begin with a D.
Yeah, I can't remember right now, but there's anyway, there's something that like he's telling Ebonhorn to do, and Ebonhorn just goes, "No, I won't be doing that." And the amount of times that like me and my buddies have like said that to each other in context of the game, like that's an all-timer.
That's great.
No, I won't be doing that.
My other favorite dialogue, this is, it's not a boss, so I don't know if this really counts. I may be disqualified because it's not even a raid or dungeon. If you remember the faction assaults in Battle for Azeroth, right, where like the Horde would attack the Alliance lands or vice versa, and you'd have to go attack or defend.
Yep.
It was in Stormsong Valley. There was an assault where the commander for the Alliance was the dwarf from Alterac Valley, whose name is Grumble Grimhammer, which is like the greatest dwarf name. And he just had the most unhinged dialogue about how much he hated the Horde and he had to go kill him. And he would say stuff like, "I can smell them." And he was calling them swine smooching pig heads and like all this stuff. Like Grumble Grimhammer's voice, that's another one that's immortal for anybody that I played with in BFA. Like we always do the Grumble Grimhammer lines.
"Some stinking orcs are trying to move through our territory, but I can smell them from miles away. Rough them up!"
He was the greatest. I was hoping he'd show up in War Within because I know that Earthen aren't dwarves, but it's close enough.
Sure,
it's like,
yeah.
All right, we got a lot of dwarves going on here. Like, where's Grumble Grimhammer?
That's great. Last question. Will you be cheering when I get up on stage at BlizzCon to announce follower raids? And I have to ask this now before they give me my NDA and I can't talk about it. So
yeah, I would be cheering for you. I'm not sure. Like follower raids is it's an interesting thing to me because you can't replicate the experience of a raid with NPCs.
Yeah.
It's just not what that is. It's not what that is. But, you know, I think maybe having a way to have people in a more contemporary way move through the content and see the story as it plays out, I think there's value there.
No, it's fine. We have story mode. It's all okay. Story mode is great. It's so wonderful.
Story mode is good if you want to see the ending cinematic and nothing else, right? Like that's
it's
pretty
terrible.
much
it's horrible.
You could just have an NPC that just plays the thing for you.
Good.
Yeah, we have in the past, right? Like that's
I mean, at this point, I'm going to stop doing it and just go watch it on YouTube because the fight is so long and so not easy. Like, what is the point?
Yeah. The follower NPCs are just not. They don't behave in any way that really makes sense. Like, so they're not really contributing anything. They're just there to sort of add flavor to the experience of you doing it by yourself. Mm-hmm. It's very unsatisfying. So I don't know. I'm not sure. I think there could be a way that follower raids could offer something to some people, but I think it's a really tricky design challenge.
I just want the tourist mode. I just want to see all the bosses, to hear all the dialogue, to get the flavor of it all. I don't need a challenge. I don't need great rewards.
Right.
But stop calling it story mode if there's no story. That's what
LFR was in Warlords of Draenor.
That makes sense.
There was no challenge at all. You just queued up, you ran, you just pushed W and bosses died.
Yeah.
It gave completely separate gear from the other raid modes, different transmog, no set bonuses, no trinkets. There were trinkets, but they were just boring. Like they were like quest trinkets basically. It wasn't like the raid trinkets you'd be going in there to get. The whole point was if you didn't want to raid, you could go see what the raid looked like and what the bosses looked like and what happened in the raid. That was what LFR was in Warlords.
I didn't realize that. Yeah.
Yeah. They decided that they didn't like that, and then they reversed course on that. And I think that was a mistake. But LFR is not for the casual players who don't want to raid. It is actually for the turbo sickos who can't stop raiding. And that is what they realized. And that is why they put set bonuses and trinkets and stuff back in there, because it's one more shot at it this week. Just one more shot, bro. That's all I need. Let me just get one more shot at that trinket. And it sucks. It shouldn't be like that. Like I hate LFR. I think it's just been a terrible addition to the game over the last 15 years or whatever. Mm-hmm. But the way to fix it would be to turn it back into tourist mode.
I'm down with that.
They don't want to do that though, because that's not the engagement is not there. So
right.
It stinks.
Yeah. Well, there we go. We did okay for the lightning round. That's not bad. That might be an all-time record for me.
Okay. Great.
I want to end on a positive note. What's the best part of your WoW experience? Either now or over time, or what keeps you coming back to this game? What do you love about it?
Oh, man. Well, there's a lot, obviously. I think if it was any one thing, I don't think we'd be having this conversation right now. You know what I mean? I think the breadth of WoW as a game is a big part of it, right? There's so much stuff to do. There's so many different ways to play and so many different things to check out. I've been really just interested in Warcraft as a fictional universe since Warcraft 3. So that also means a lot. You know, it's always just felt like the thing for me, you know. I kind of grew up with it in a way, you know. I mean, I guess I was an adult when Warcraft 3 came out, but I never really played the previous games in the series. But so it felt like the thing, you know, for my generation, I guess, in a way that maybe like Lord of the Rings kind of really wasn't, you know. I like that, of course, but you know, that's from like, I mean, geez, my uncle was into that, you know what I mean? It's like Warcraft was just more contemporary, so
sure,
it was appealing to me, and you know, I don't know. So all of those are definitely factors. I mean, I hate to say it because this is solo queue, but the best part is the people. The best part is the people. And that's what's kept me coming back. The best experiences I've had are making connections with people through the game, you know, and through podcasting too. I mean, the game has opened the doors for me to have a platform, which has then, you know, it kind of exposed my personality and my thought process about the game to other people who respond to it. I made a lot of great friends through doing the show, collaborating with other people who do shows like yours. You know, getting to have conversations, get to know people who work on the game and really, really care about it and take what they do seriously. Like you talk to some of the people that work on the game and they're just like us, you know, but they happen to be the ones making it. So it's really that, you know, it's all the people that I've gotten to. I mean, some of my very good friends I've, you know, just met through playing the game and all the different experiences with people over the years. I think it's opened doors and it's led me to have experiences that I never would have had without it. And it's not because I sat down and logged into the game specifically, right? It just so happened that you have those chance encounters with people or whatever, and you know, it's the doors open and doors close, and I don't know, man. That's the big takeaway for me, you know. It's funny because I have like a whole other separate social life outside of WoW, right? Like I have like a group of friends that I communicate with regularly. None of them play WoW. Yeah. And then I have like my WoW friends who live all over the entire world and that have nothing to do with what I do in my real life. So it's kind of weird, but I like it, you know. I think I can't sometimes, I mean, thinking back to the early days of really getting into the hobby and WoW becoming a thing that kind of superseded other games, other pastimes for me. Like to think of where I came from, those awkward days of like trying to learn how to learn about the game, try to learn how to be better at the game, to like where I've come through, you know, to this point in time. It's really strange to think about, and just the amount of, you know, places the game has taken me in reality and the interpersonal relationships I've made through it and through just blabbing about it is I'm really lucky. I feel lucky, you know. The game has repaid a lot of what I've put into it.
That's nice. Yeah, you're not allowed on solo queue anymore if you're gonna be pushing that people crap. Also, maybe you just exposed this entire podcast was just a ploy to try and get onto your raid team. So
there you go. Then you have to come up with a new name, new branding.
Yeah, that's so much work.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like our time in the solo queue is up for tonight. This morning, it has ticked over past midnight here in the Eastern time zone. I need to have nothing to do with the game. I need to figure out how to edit this monster interview, probably into 2 parts, I'm going to guess. But what do you need to get into in the game, Mr. Lucas?
Actually, nothing right now, because I'm in a nice little gulf until 12.1 when it all spins back up. So actually, I have some bits and pieces to wrap up because I got to do some lore walking and some other stuff. Want to make sure I got all that stuff finished, have had the experience, have the information in my brain before we move into the new stuff, because it's going to get left behind if it's not done before. So I got some loose ends to tie up, but this is like the most ready I've been for a new patch in I don't know how long. I got so much stuff buttoned up, so I'm in a very light WoW cycle at this point. I gotta hop on tomorrow, do my time walking, get my Spawn of Vyranoth.
Hey, where can our listeners, who all do not interact with other people, they're all very, very solo, but if they want to listen to you, find you out in the world, or listen to the Starting Zone, how do they go about finding you?
So you can find the show, The Starting Zone, pretty much anywhere you get your podcast. It should be on all reputable podcast outlets, basically. You can also find the show on Twitter at The Starting Zone. You can also find the show on Blue Sky at thestartingzone.bsky.social. And you can find the show on Twitch at twitch.tv/thestartingzone. We do live stream our recordings. We don't have a set schedule, but it's usually Friday evenings Eastern time. And you can also find the YouTube VODs, youtube.com/@thestartingzone. Just kind of raw, unedited. It's not really like a YouTube product. It's just our raw feed of the live stream. But you can find the show in all those places, so check it out there. If you want to see what I'm up to, you can find me on Twitter at Shieldwalled, or you can find me on Blue Sky at jlucas.bsky.social. I also have video channels at twitch.tv/Shieldwalled and youtube.com/Shieldwalled. And I haven't been streaming much lately, but 12.1 is on the near horizon, so we'll be in there doing Ulatech stuff pretty soon. So come say hi on socials or on the video channels.
And you all know where to find me, SoloQWow at Gmail, and all the socials, Blue Sky, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Threads. And you can find me on the Discord, the SoloQ Discord, or find me, Sweeper Dave, on Discord. One last big thank you to Jason for coming on and taking time out of his summer schedule to hang out with me. This was a lot of fun. Big thank you to my lovely and supportive wife, to the good folks over at Podbean who host SoloQ, and to the wonderful contributing Patreon supporters of SoloQ. My big thank you to Andrew, Righteous Bandy, That Sky Guy, Sin, Snake of Oldoon, John, Metacognition, Jeru, Raven, Greybeard, Pasta Matt, Luch, and Rack. Big thanks. Hey, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Give a little star, a little like, a little thumbs up, a little comment, a little review, whatever. Get people sharing the show, talking about the show. If I find those reviews, I will read them here in the SoloQ mailbag in a future episode. Or just reach out with questions, comments. What'd you think of the interview? Remember to wrap up your Season 1 checklist. 12.1 goes live on Tuesday. I find myself staring longingly from the broken bridge over to the coiled isle until Tuesday's reset, like I'm somehow trapped in the Truman Show. If you don't get that reference, you should go watch the Truman Show. But hey, we will talk all about the Curse of Ulatech and look beyond, ahead to BlizzCon, now just 1 month away, the next time we hop into the SoloQ. For Jason Lucas and myself, we will see you out there. All right, that's recording, and this will work. All right. With more difficulty. Who wrote this garbage?